right now of Harry Gant. That's been moving back and forth, those positions, but right now we're watching the number 21 car driven by Neil Bonnet from Hueytown, Alabama, thrilling this crowd as he's staying out in front. He has said the strategy for this race was to establish a dictatorship early. He's tried to be tyrannical, but it hasn't worked. Allison is the latest to haunt him. Moments ago, about 15 to be exact, car number 77, 1970 winner of this event, Donnie Allison, smacked the wall in turns 3 and 4, slid across, and Richard Brooks, in his 13th performance at Charlotte, slammed into him and knocked the car spinning down onto the inside of the track. Donnie Allison has been taken to the infield field hospital unconscious. Richard Brooks walked away from that crash. Let's go to Ned Jarrett right now for an update.
10 both drivers have been removed from the track hospital and taken to local hospitals. Dick Brooks was conscious. In fact, he gave me the okay sign as they were putting him in the ambulance to take him to Concord to the hospital. But Donnie Allison was unconscious. I spoke with his wife, Patty. She says that he has a neck injury, a possible leg injury also, but Donnie was unconscious when they took him to a Charlotte hospital. That's the report from here.
177 laps, 265 and a half of the 600 miles have been completed. And at the present time, Neil Bonnet has a slim edge over Bobby Allison. We'll be back with more live coverage from Charlotte. Right now, let's go to Brett Musburger in New York. Here at the 22nd running of the $411,000 Charlotte 600. You see car number 22 being brought in. That is Stan Barrett, one of the bandit cars of Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. And there you see the standings at the present time with Neil Bonnet just barely in front. There have been some pit stops under caution, which will change that and put Bobby Allison on the point and Neil Bonnet in second as this race continues to seesaw here on the 1.5 mile high banks of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Good afternoon and welcome to our live coverage of this race from the heartland of American stock car racing, Charlotte, North Carolina, where it all began after World War II. Working with me today is the man who will be on the outside of the front row for the third major motorsports event of the weekend tomorrow for the International Motorsports Association. He will start outside in his old Bimmer against the Mustang up at Lime Rock, Connecticut. In the road racing competition, David Hobbs, nice to have you with us today.
Well, nice to be here, Ken. It's obviously going to be a pretty hurried weekend for me, qualifying yesterday, down here today and back tomorrow. And I know how those guys feel out there today because it's pretty hot up north. And these men are putting 600 miles under their belt today. Neil Bonnet sat on the pole and established a tremendous lead until we had the accident a few minutes ago between Donnie Allison and Dick Brooks. He was setting out to set the pace, but now Bobby Allison's right with him, and it looks like going down to a really close finish.
As we are still under caution in the 187th lap, let's look at what has happened thus far in this 22nd running of the World 600. In the early part of the race, as they came down to the line, Neil Bonnet was on the pole. It's the second time he's been on the pole for the World 600. Flanking him, another non-winner of this great classic, Cale Yarborough, driving with a burned arm. There's Charlie Daniels, the country singer, waving the green flag. And our camera car was Buddy Baker back in 27th position. And watch these moves by Baker as he fired down into the first turn in lap number 1. Meanwhile, up in front, what a battle. Neil Bonnet, who wanted to dominate this race, as you see them 3 deep, going down the back straightaway, pulled out in front of Cale Yarborough and led as they came around. 42 cars took the green flag today, and for well over 200 miles, we had only one retiree. Incredible speed, about 170 miles per hour across the start-finish line. Running third then was Dale Earnhardt. And the battle continued through the first 2 laps in an incredible manner. Notice Yarborough beginning to go high, and Harry Gant in the second Burt Reynolds Hal Needham car plugging along in 4th place, blending into the asphalt as they go down the back straightaway. And Earnhardt unscrambled. Today's race for Earnhardt worth $165,000 if he could pull it off. Watch what happens in front of Buddy Baker right here. He's up to 16th place. 3 cars in front in turn 4, out of control as they spin and skitter down the track. Lap number 5 was when it happened, and let's look at what Buddy Baker saw as Ron Bouchard, Mike Alexander, and Rick Wilson spun directly in front of our CBS camera car in the early going. There's Baker going through turn 3, working that steering wheel. throwing out the driver's manual about 3 and 9 o'clock, just getting by that car of Bouchard, and then
the other two cars spinning inside. He goes very up high, right off the black strip there, lifts his hand off the wheel, thinking, boy, what a lucky escape that was. And there we see what's happening behind Buddy Baker in the CBS car.
And he had moved from 27th into 16th position by lap number 5. The action wasn't over. Here he was a bit later, attacking Ricky Rudd for 9th place. Rudd down on the inside. And upstairs, Buddy Baker goes around the high bank and takes another position away. That put him in 8th. A record crowd. They turned away over 5,000 from the gates of the Charlotte Motor Speedway today, looking on at this classic confrontation. In front as Earnhardt and Bonnet continually try to win their first 600. Earnhardt, number 2, Bonnet, number 21. Lapping Donnie Allison in 77. And they are 3 wide with Donnie Allison on the bottom.
Neil Bonnet there driving very forcefully, which he has done all afternoon. He just hasn't given an inch in any of this traffic. And a lot of people think that might be his undoing in a long race like this, 600 miles. But nevertheless, here they are leading. And Dale Earnhardt never won this race and hasn't won a race this year, although he's a national champion from last year.
He could win $165,000. He won the National 500 last fall on this track, and if he could win today, it would be worth a $100,000 bonus to him. Meanwhile, Buddy Baker, this is when he was running in 8th position, coming across the start-finish line, headed for turn number 1. Watch this. Out of control, the right front tire is blown. He heads to the bottom of the track. He tries to recover it, and instead reverses the car, slams tail first into the outside of turn number 1. And this is what Buddy Baker saw.
He saw the world turning, as they say. You saw there a very graphic view of what happens when the tires close on one of these cars. The deadly hand of fate reaches out and grabs that wheel and just turns the car around and pivots it around that wheel into the wall. 360 degrees, and then around the track with the leaders in the pits, Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, and Buddy Baker limping down pit road, shaking, vibrating, hurting physically and mentally. This is the race he's won 3 times and wanted so badly to be the first man in history to win it 4. And there you see the congestion, the activity on pit road from inside Baker's car. Those were the standings then at 53 laps. Bonnet first, Earnhardt second, Yarborough third, Bobby Allison fourth, Parsons in 5th. The work on Buddy Baker's car. Badly rumpled in the back, change of tires for Buddy Baker, the hometowner. Earnhardt had trouble later in lap 113 after leading and looking like he might dominate this race, pulling onto pit road. It was to be a lengthy stay. Something like 24 laps, and frustration is read here in the face of Dale Earnhardt as the crew wonders exactly what the problem is that is keeping this $65,000 racing car. Meanwhile, Neil Bonnet charged out in front. Darrell Waltrip at that point was behind him in the Junior Johnson car number 11. And those were the standings with Bobby Allison then 3rd, Harry Gant, the Bandit, in 4th, and Richard Petty, twice winner in 75 and 77, running in the 5th position. Then, moments ago, Donnie Allison, 1970 winner, slammed the outside wall, is hit by Richard Brooks, and the two slide into the inside. Allison unconscious. He has been taken to the Charlotte Hospital, as we understand at this time, still unconscious from this terrible wreck. Let's check the attrition as we are back with live racing. Number 21 is just barely in front of number 28, Allison. And there you see the cars out of the race. Remember, 42 started, and we are working in the 136 laps, 204 miles down. That's a correction, 186 laps. And we are at 279 down. And there you see the summary at the present time. Neil Bonnet in number 27, trying to gather himself back a lap and get up with those leaders. He is teetering on falling a lap back. There's Richard Petty in number 43. He also
also was one lap down. If a caution could come out here and Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty could move around, they put themselves back in the lead lap with 3 other cars. Let's get an update on the condition of Donnie Allison from Ned Jarrett at this moment.
Tim, they took both Dick Brooks and Donnie Allison to the hospital. Brooks has a possible shoulder injury, but he was conscious and saying he was okay. Donnie Allison was not quite as fortunate. He had a neck brace on. They say that he has a serious neck injury along with a fractured leg. But we're hoping for the best for both of those drivers.
Thank you, Ed. Now, the battle you're seeing is a 2-part battle, and let me update you, it is 198 laps that is being worked right now. I was in error a moment ago, 297 miles, and there you see the standings. Bonnet is still first. Allison is second. Harry Gant, out of the picture, is in third, out of the frame you're looking at. But he's very much a contender. Now, number 27, Cale Yarborough, is haunting those leaders. He is 1 lap down in 4th, and Richard Petty is in 5th, also a lap down, as is Ricky Rudd in 6th, and Morgan Shepherd, the upstart, is in 7th position, all a lap back.
And car number 2, of course, Dale Earnhardt, fighting away in there, but he's many laps down.
To Brock Yates along pit road working with us today.
Ken, I'm with the star of the show so far this afternoon. Is headed for a great career in action pictures. Buddy Baker, who went out early just a little while ago, actually, with a carburetor problem. Buddy, that was the cause of that spin, was it not?
Well, the accelerator was hanging, and I thought it was just hanging on the air cleaner a little bit. And it did it 2 or 3 laps before, but it always turned loose in time to get in the corner. So the lap that I spun, I went in the corner and was expecting it to back off, and a hard driver runs right to the limit. And when something goes wrong, they're in a lot of trouble. When I backed off, it just came going wide open, and I couldn't get to the switch in time, so I slammed the brakes on. It turned it sideways, and I spun out. And then I come in, they did some work on it, and I thought maybe they had fixed it, and later it started hanging all the time, and I went into some heavy traffic one time. It hung wide open. It wouldn't unhang in, so we started looking. The carburetor was broke inside. It was a real heartbreaker because the car was handling good, and Paul Stellings and all the people that do know have done a great job getting the car ready for me, and you know, something like a carburetor breaking, that just don't happen very often.
Your pictures were incredible. I thought maybe you did that spin just for us.
Yeah, I get more money now, right?
Absolutely. Stop by and pick your chuck. Okay, Ken, from Buddy Baker.
Once a dealer, always a dealer. Buddy Baker, one of the greats, 3-time champion of this 600-miler, out of it today. But the battle up in front is still enjoying between Neil Bonnet and Bobby Allison, fighting for the lead as we reach the midway mark of the 600. Position here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. On the inside, you see Neil Bonnet, number 21. On the outside, Bobby Allison, and that is for first position. Bobby Allison, the winner of this event in 1971, trying to go for the lion's share of $411,000. Rim riding his way around Neil Bonnet as they go out of turn number 2. But Bonnet continues to put the pressure on. There's a big question here as to whether or not Bonnet has run this car too high so far this afternoon. He hasn't relinquished an inch to anyone. And remember, it's 600 miles on a 1.5-mile track. Now, just in front of Bonnet is number 27, Cale Yarborough. He is driving hurt, but make no mistake about it. Anytime you're up against Cale Yarborough, he's driving tough. He has burned 25 second-degree burns on 20. We have a crash. That is Jimmy Dean and car number 88 coming to grief. Spinning out. That is the second number 80 on the field, and they're racing back to the line. All important here. Bonnet is trying to keep Cale Yarborough a lap down. As they come to the stripe, they race all the way around the track. They're in turns 3 and 4. They're coming back to the line. We'll get back to that crash in a moment. As they come to the stripe, here's Yarborough trying to take the lap back. He's stuck it through. Oh, in the wall goes Neil Bonnet. Off a left car. Neil Bonnet, the leader, has crashed at lap 210. That's the end of it for Bonnet. It's all over. And I think that could well affect his standings with the Wood brothers. There are his pit crew looking on, members of them, as Neil Bonnet just ran the car into the wall. David Hogg.
Okay, well, that to me just puts the thin lid on this ridiculous NASCAR racing back to the flag rule. It is the most pathetic thing that's invented in racing. And that there just shows the danger and the idiosyncrasies of this ridiculous rule, where you race back to the flag, and there's a classic case of what can happen. Okay, the powers that be will say, well, if you're going to race, you've got to be careful. You don't have to run into people, but that's the sort of thing that can happen. And worse still, when the track is blocked with wreckage, they've usually got to race around that wreckage to get back to the flag, and that's when it gets really dangerous.
We'll look again at the last car, which Bonnet was trying to maneuver when he ran out of running room right the lowest of the start-finish line. Let's see what happened first as they were racing. All right, let's see what happened in order. First up in turn 4, 2 cars out of control, spinning down to the inside. And it is the end, perhaps, for Jimmy Means of Alabama as his car comes around, and I believe that's the 99 car of Chuck Bound, the car usually driven by Johnny Rutherford. Now, as they were racing to the line, here's what happened. Note those 2 cars in front of number 21. They are lapped automobiles. That may be Lenny Pond, just in front of the yellow car, which is usually the Cecil Gordon ride.
And he is going high to lap somebody else in front of him and effectively closes the door on Bonnet, and Cale Yarborough just slips through that gap. But it's one of those things where 94, the lapped car, is in a very sticky situation. He doesn't know where to put himself because there's 2 cars coming up to lap him.
It was 94. Correction. That's Bobby Wowak of Villa Park, Illinois, who was the other car involved. The yellow automobile, Bobby Wowak, and here is number 21. And I believe that Cale has now made up the lap because he was in front of the next automobile, number 28, and he would then come around, and that would give us 3 cars in the lead lap with 211 laps complete.
I don't know how the score is going to work that out because it happened right on the line. I'm not sure which one of the 2 crossed the line first.
Well, for certain, I believe that 27. Meanwhile, in the pit, there's Cale Yarborough coming back out, badly burned on his left arm, but ready to race here today in the 600 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
CBS Sports Sunday will continue.
217 laps have now been completed, 325 and a half miles, 183 laps to go. And moments ago, a serious crash as they race the line. These are the latest standings. Harry Gann in front, Allison second. Yarborough is now back in the lead lap. Morgan Shepherd stands fourth, 1 lap down with Ricky Rudd and Richard Petty. Now let's look exactly at what happened as they race back to the line. David Haas.
There we see Neil Bonnet just in front of Cale Yarborough, coming up behind the yellow car, number 94, who pinches him into the wall, spins him round, hits the wall right in front of the start-finish line, having crossed it just in front of Allison. And Yarborough spins down, across the grass at the end of the pit lane there, across pit lane, and hits the retaining wall there. A pretty severe blow.
Now, Neil Bonnet has been taken from this car, we understand unconscious, to the infield hospital. He was leading at the time of this event. And we'll have an update right now. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Ken, he was taken into the track hospital here, and they say that he is okay. He was complaining with a possible rib injury, but one of his crew members just walked by as I'm talking now and gave me the okay sign. He was conscious and talking to the people, so apparently they're not even going to move him from the track hospital. Just check him over.
Let's follow this story up and go to Brock Yates. We're going to check in with Brock in a moment. We're getting down for a start. Getting down toward the start. Once again, with 218 laps complete as Bobby Wowak's car is being trailed back in. We'll be under green in about 1 lap from now here in the Charlotte 600. 7 cars follow Harry Gann, the leader, and there you see the ones that are out of competition. After almost no attrition through the first 150 miles, it has caught up with them here in this 22nd running of the Charlotte 600. The latest victims, Bobby Wowak and Neil Bonnet, Chuck Bounds, number 99, and the 98 of Rusty Wallace has also gone down. The track is clear, and we will be back under green as they come around for the 221st lap. Let's go to Brock Yates.
Ken, I'm down here in the garage Marjorie, with the number 21 Wood Brothers car that was involved in that incident with Neil Bonnet. We understand that he's about to leave the Steel Hospital. It's an unfortunate incident, in particular for the Wood Brothers, who led last week for 400 of the 500 miles of the Dover-Delaware track, and then came out here today. It was clearly the best handling car for the early stage of this race, and then suddenly to be pinched against the wall in an incident and be put out is a heartbreaking and very, very devastating time for the Wood Brothers. And fortunately, it doesn't look as if the car is badly injured and the driver isn't badly hurt as we were first to believe. Back to you, Tim.
Well, that's a bad break for Neil Bonnet, one of the Alabama gang and one of the hardest chargers that they currently have in the new league of racing, the new drivers. He won his last races a year ago when he won at Talladega, Alabama, and Pocono, Pennsylvania, has not won since. They're coming down to take one more lap before they will put them under green and send them on their way. It is Harry Gant, the bandit, out in front. The Burt Reynolds Hal Needham, car number 33, is in front. 6 cautions in the first 221 laps. And look at this crowd, which is turned out in Charlotte to see the 600 today.
Well, it certainly is a promoter's dream to look at a crowd like that gathered here today, but what a race they've seen so far. It got up to a reasonably slow start. We only had one at a time, and as you say, in the first 149 laps, but boom, from lap 150 to lap 210, we've lost another 14 cars. It'll be a great race for Harry Gant if he can pull this one off. He's one of those guys that's been around a fair time, very successful, but never quite made it in the Grand National racing. But he's got a good car here, and he could well win this race. He's been running very strongly all day.
Report from Indianapolis is that Danny Ungaius is in fair condition with a broken left leg and hip, chest injuries, possible internal injuries. That's the latest on Ungaius. Rick Mears is suffering first and second degree burns. He is in the same hospital in Indianapolis. The driver, who currently is being shown in third place in the lead lap in this race, is Bobby Allison at this time. A correction as we look ahead. The box score here, the weight changes of 18, 7 liters, average speed way down from the record, 129 miles per hour. The record is around 143, and at this juncture it belonged to Buddy Baker. Coming by at 210. He had 3 cars in the lead lap. Here's a late report from Indianapolis just coming in that Bobby Unser is out in front of Gordon Johncock and Mario Andretti, who came all the way from the last row at 1-2-3 in Indianapolis at 400 miles. Unser first, Gordon Johncock second, Andretti third. And they are holding right below us number 27 and putting Yarborough 1 lap back. Remember when they came to the line? Right below us on the start-finish line, and they're holding Arrington, number 67, right below us. 27 is stopped at the start-finish line. Well, I guess in theory, Neil Bonnet did cross the start-finish line before Cal Yarborough and when all that tumult started. So, racing back to the flag at that stage, Neil Bonnet was the leader, and he was still a lap in front of Cal. David Iff should be very excited about this. They're saying that he did not make up the lap, and he is just sitting there now. And the debate is on. Harold Kinder and Ernie Moore. And Cale has thrown the car in neutral at the start-finish line. That would mean we only have 2 cars in the lead lap. And those 2 cars would be number 33, Harry Gant, and number 28, Allison. We were getting some cross signals here a moment ago about this 27. Arrington is beginning to roll away, and he's gone. Buddy Arrington, who was one of those cars that were at the line as they came up to take caution.
And you hear Bill Gazzo's voice in the background saying, hold that car.
So, as we have an additional period of caution here while we decide about Cale Yarborough, let's read the Belmont Stakes here on CBS. At stake today, it is the 600-mile Charlotte 22nd running, and it is an incredible event which has just seen Cale Yarborough put back a lap, which gives Harry Gant the advantage with Bobby Allison in the lead lap. Now, Cale is still trying to make up a lap. The original word was that he was in front of the car, and he made about 3 or 4 laps under caution. We have 1 car in slow, bad trouble on the outside of 4. I believe it is Kyle Petty running very slowly. Stays out of the way. The field rumbles by him.
Well, strictly speaking, he didn't stay out of the way. He sort of wandering all over the road.
Dropped down to the bottom right here at the start-finish line after running very high through 3 and 4. There's the leader, Harry Gant, in number 33. The second-place car is just behind Morgan Shepherd. Second overall in the track. If you look at them now, he's actually running back in 6th. Morgan Shepherd in the number 5 car. The Quicksilver team. The leader is 33. 28. Bobby Allison maintaining second, trying to go underneath a car that is 1 lap down and putting others further back. He's 1 lap down to the leader, number 33 Gant. And there goes Allison on the inside of the second turn. Cale Yarborough lurks right there. He wants to get his lap back. Here he comes. Inside Bobby Allison. Allison certainly does not want Yarborough back in that lead lap.
Well, of course, he doesn't want either of these two guys back in the lead lap. Because Morgan Shepherd, car number 5, won the 300 miles course race yesterday. He won a Grand National race 2 weeks ago, and he is obviously very anxious to lead his field. And then if there's another yellow flag and he crosses the line first, he's got his lap back. So he'll be charging pretty hard to the front. He and Cale Yarborough, number 27. I'm absolutely amazed to see Cale Yarborough still running so strongly at this position in the race, because he's got really bad burns on his arms, his chest, and his shoulder, where some boiling water was spilled on him. And I would have thought in the heat out there and wearing that driver's suit and the perspiration that must be coming out of him, that he is in absolute agony now. But he is tenacious. It was in the hotel room when the incident happened, shaving in the morning, and his coffee party brings with him to the race, tipped over, burned his arm very badly, down his side. He was all taped up here the other day on the track. But he's out here running. It's just unimaginable. It's all about the Iron Man. Harry Gant is an Iron Man as well. This guy has like 800 wins on short tracks around the country. Right now he has the lead, and there goes Allison trying to get Cale Yarborough still further back in that lap. Let's go to Brock Yates.
Ken, I'm in the Cale Yarborough pit with David Iff, who just had a very hot discussion with the NASCAR officials here about Cale being stopped. David, what was your contention in that argument?
Well, they had a caution. You know, Bonnet beat us back to the line, but we beat Bobby and Harry Gant back, so they told us to go on around and get in the same lap with them, which we was, and then they made another decision that we was a lap down, and that's why they held us. You know, everybody knows it's their ball game. You just play in it. If you don't like it, you load your car and go home.
Are you saying that they're playing favorites?
Well, you know, it's just one of them things. We feel we're back in the same lap. I think there's 100,000 people do, and we're going to get it back anyway if we don't break. But, you know, what's fair is fair, and what's wrong is wrong.
Pepper's flaring the pits, Ken. Up to you.
David Iff with the MC Anderson automobile, number 27. This is the team that won this race 1 year ago with Benny Parsons when they defeated Darrell Waltrip over the last 30 laps in the greatest finish they've ever had in the Charlotte 600. And there goes Cale trying to get that lap back. Harry Gant closes the door in turn number 3. The standing. Gant is first. Allison second. Yarborough just 1 lap and 1 car length back in third. Then comes Morgan Shepherd in fourth.
Well, I'm not one to spread scandal or rumors, but it is rumors that Cale Yarborough is, in fact, not on top of everyone's popularity list in these circles these days, because he tried to make some demands for start money and 1, 2 other things like that. So maybe this is their way of getting back at him. Who knows?
Back straight away, Cale trying hard, and here's Allison running right with him on the bottom of the track. Look at this confrontation as Richard Petty stays in it as well. Now Petty has moved around Shepherd, and Petty's trying to move up through to get a lap back. And Richard Petty won this race twice, and he will be south towards the end of it, you may be sure.
And running 5th on the road there in the blue and yellow car, of course, number 2 is Dale Earnhardt, who unfortunately is many laps down, but is demonstrating how quick he can go.
There's Richard Petty right behind Bobby Allison. Petty's position currently 4th, a lap down.
So there's a lot at stake here. We've got 4 or 5 cars in this lead group. We've got Cale Yarborough, Morgan Shepherd, and Richard Petty. Only 1 lap down on the leaders. So all of those 3 really want to get around Harry Gant to try and lead this race on the road and try and get that lap back, which Cale is trying very hard to do at the moment on the low side.
Cale slips in behind. You can be sure that he's a little hot out there and trying to vent some of that steam.
He's not feeling
number 33.
He feels that.
As they come around into the double dogleg start-finish line. Just take a look at this immense crowd that has gathered here today. Largest crowd, 5,000 were turned away. You'll note in the backstretch there are some empty seats in the bottom. I think that's because folks have moved up and tried to find standing room in the aisles and above the grandstand area. When you're down to those bottom seats, you're plenty close here on this back straightaway. Plenty close enough for all that racing just to get highly dangerous and highly contagious. Pretty close. Into 3. Harry Gant still holds the lead over Cale Yarborough, who's 1 lap down, number 27. And right behind him is Bobby Allison, number 28. Harry Gant has done a tremendous amount of racing. There's all this racing that he has done night after night, Thursday through Sunday, give him an edge out here.
I've raced so many races. I've probably raced as many races in late model sportsmen as anybody here has ever raced any kind of race, even Richard. And you run so many races and you compete so many Saturday nights and Thursdays and Wednesdays and Fridays and Sundays that you just begin to, you just live with the car and how the car operates. And I guess that helps you to have an advantage because a lot of these boys are starting out now that's never driven any races from out there hanging. Like I've run over 1,000 and seen the checkered flag fall a lot of times.
Harry Gant still looking for his first Grand National win. Richard Petty himself said he is one of the very best, pound for pound, of the track today. He's muscular, he's strong, he's very easy. And that makes a big difference. Well, of course, he also has a very valid point in racing a lot. There's no doubt about it. Racing, just like every other sport and every other occupation, practice makes perfect. You've really got to do it. Watching live as Harry Gant leads. Let's go to Brock Yates and the Harry Gant tip.
Ken, you talk about teamwork. I've got an oddball twist on it. Earlier in the race, Harry was running. He got up in the marbles and crushed the wall, causing some bodywork damage to the right side of the car. The bodywork was scraping on the tires. 2 laps later, his teammate, Stan Barrett in the other Hal Needham car, spun out, brought out the caution flag, and it permitted Harry to come in and make the repairs to his car under the caution flag. There's an old saying, I'd rather be lucky than good, and today it looks like Harry may be both.
242 laps have been completed. And as they come to the start-finish line, Cale is trying on the inside to make up that critical lap. Right down to the bottom. Gant won't give it to him. Here they are, side by side, turns 1 and 2.
Well, I knew old Stan Barrett was a nice guy, but I didn't think that he had sacrificed his whole race just to give them the time to repair Harry's car. But that's pretty good of you, Stan.
The 27 car is the third-place machine. He is now back in the lead lap. The caution here would bring him around.
This is what I was going to say. This is where he really needs the caution in the worst possible way.
Fourth stands Richard Petty. Fifth goes car number 88, Ricky Rudd. And sixth, dropping back 2 laps to Morgan Phillips. CBS Sports will continue after this word from your local station. 247 laps have been completed, 370 and a half miles. Report here on Donnie Allison's condition. He is in the Charlotte Memorial Hospital in guarded condition, sustaining head injuries in that crash which we saw taking place in turn 3 and 4. They say his vital signs are okay. Neil Bonnet has been treated and released, and everyone is thankful for that. After this serious jump while he was leading, coming back to the flag right at the line. Bonnet is all right. We hope to have a word with him before the afternoon is over. Now you're watching the battle for first place. Side by side, our number 33 is Cale Yarborough here, is out in front in that lap. He is now running in third in the lead lap. But here is Bobby Allison going wheel to wheel with Harry Gant. Side by side as they come through turn 4 and around Buddy Arrington, and no place for 33. Gant to run, he finds the hole and gets through. Allison stays down low. It's the battle for first place going to turn number 1. Harry Gant back in front in the Travis Carter prepared car of Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. In the second spot is the Waddell Wilson prepared car of Harry Ranier, driven by the 1971 champion of the 600. Bobby Allison, the leader of the Alabama gang, and what a struggle we're having for first place at 250 laps this time by. Lapping Connie Saylor, remember him? He's the man you saw in that 125 just sailing through the air for 300 or 400 feet. That's right, Connie Saylor. That's Big Tony.
That was a bit of good driving and away by Buddy Arrington, who had got himself all in the wrong place on the track, but he didn't keep his head. When Harry Gant squeezed high on him, he didn't suddenly pull it down low, which is the involuntary reaction many times, because right underneath him by then was Bobby Allison. But it just shows how these guys, if they're going to be lapped consistently, have learned to drive in such a way they can keep out of the way of the really serious men out there. And Harry Gant at the moment is looking very serious. Gant back to the stripe. He has not won a Grand National race. In fact, to anyone who goes to short track racing on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, they've seen him in victory lane a multitude of times. Here he is, back in turns 1 and 2, lapping the Ronnie Thomas car. Big tire controversy here in the past week. Drivers complaining the compounds were too hard and that we would probably tear up the asphalt, they were so hard. One fellow, in fact, Neil Bonnet said, we could run the time trials at night and you could follow the cars around from the sparks off the tires because they're almost like steel. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
We're working much better here today as a result of the heat that we have. The hard compound they have on the tires is working much better. We're looking at a set of tires that came off of Bobby Allison's car, the last pit stop. These tires have 5 30-seconds of rubber on them when they're brand new. They have only worn 1 1/4 30 seconds off during 100 miles, so that is tremendous wear. In fact, they're figuring on putting this set of tires back on that car number 28 later on here today. So their concern is not nearly as great as the anticipation was before going into this race today.
Well, of course, that's just typical driver pressure on the tire companies and everybody else to try and make the cars easy to drive. Because on the hard tires, there's no doubt about it, they do slide around more, and they are less, or slightly less controllable. And the drivers like the soft tires, especially here in NASCAR, where they can change them so easy in the pit stops. And it gives them a much more secure feeling out there on the track. So when the chips are down, obviously they've all got down to it, and they've driven very, very well, and no problem. Harry Gant trying to put a lap down as we look at the grandstand area, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and the leader coming by trying to put Dale Yarborough down 1 stroke of the pencil on the scoreboard, which he did by about a front fender length. And around the outside goes Bobby Allison trying to put Dale Yarborough back in his place. Now there's Richard Petty in the 43. Remember that he is running in 4th position. He is fighting Cale for 3rd. 27 and 43 are battling for 3rd. 1 lap down from the leaders, but if 27 and 43 could move by the number 33 car and then have a caution come out of the speedway, they would zip around and have themselves a time back in the lead lap. But if I was old Ace Gant and a couple of those other guys, the one I'd be worried about was the old red and blue job right behind me there, number 43, when Richard Petty is running right up there with the lead group. Albion a lap down. Jimmy Means coming back here. Plus Means from Alabama, who was in a shunt earlier, as you saw, in our live coverage from the 600 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And look at the numbers of people out on pit road today. Well, I hope they've been pretty well controlled. A couple of interested fans. That's a Petty hat, I believe, there. Yes, indeed. There releases the man from Level Cross. Cale is again on the inside, number 27. The only man to ever win the national championship 3 years in a row. Cale Yarborough struggling to win one of the great classics, which has never gone his way. The 600 in Charlotte began with Speedy Thompson back in 22 years ago this year. Well, of course, Cale this year made a conscious effort, a decided effort not to go for the national championship and cut down the amount of races that he was going to run, which is one of the reasons, I think, why he incurred the wrath of a few people. Because he is a big draw in this type of racing, and obviously all the promoters and everybody wants him at all the races, but he just feels that he's paid his dues and doesn't really need to go to all the races anymore. So he's picking and choosing this place and doesn't want to. He wants to spend a little more time around Simmonsville. He's been on the road for some 15 years. Bulldog of a race driver stays on the bottom of the track and continues to fight it out in our CBS Sports Sunday live coverage of the 600. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Then I have Mr. Allison, Donnie Allison's dad here, who just heard from the hospital report. And we got
Rutman's car, number 6, out of control and spinning. He's picked the machine up. And the Lee Figgins car leads out of Los Angeles, California, with a driver from Upland, California. Now remember, they're racing to the line. They are racing back to the stripe. All important. Whoa, one hit Cale Yarborough, and he hit Harry Gant. Cale has to back out of it. Here they come, back to the line like on a half-mile track. Petty comes up on the outside of Cale, but Gant beats Cale a lap down as well as Richard Petty. Did you see him get tagged up there in the corner? Boy, we have a barn burner here today. Cale Yarborough may have a burned arm, but it was certainly working away in that car then. When you get out of shape on these high-banked ovals, and you can get the car back, we all saw what happens when Buddy Baker lost control earlier on. I mean, your arms are really flapping away in there. Harry Gant did an incredible job of recovery as they came around, and we'll see again what began it all here. Out of control is Ruttman up in turn 4. Spinning down and just tagged the automobile. Basically, sort of missed everything, didn't he? I think he must have hit the outside wall. It looked to me like the car was a bit bent up. Let's see here. Not in the front. Just spun and missed everything. Cabracchi.
Here again, just stopped at his pit. It looks like a routine stop. It's a well-ordered crew. They're putting on fuel on right-side tires, of course. Although, as Ned Jarrett said earlier, the tire wear has been exceptional in this race. Gant is taking on a little drink of cold stuff, whatever that might be. They're going to come around and change the inside tires as well. This is his 5th stop in this race, and as we said earlier, Harry had a very fortuitous stop earlier in the going when Stan Barrett hit the wall. Waving around a little bit, wants a speck of dirt taken off the windshield. Otherwise, he seems perfectly happy. Down off the jacks, and he's underway.
In a few moments, we want to show you that as you see Stan Barrett watching his teammate on the track, that incident up in turn 3 when it looked for us, for all the world, like Harry Gant was going to take a ride to the wall. Here it is once again as they were coming down through 3 and 4. Now, Cale Yarborough on the inside is trying to make up a lap, get back with the leaders, and right here, sideways, and both of them are sideways. Richard Petty makes the move to the outside. He and Gant got really crossed up there. Both did a magnificent job of holding these 3,900-pound cars in line. Richard thought he was going to see a gap there where he was going to take a lap back off Gant, but of course he couldn't quite make it because Gant gathered it up so well. There is Richard Petty into the pit. We'll be back with more live Memorial Weekend coverage of the 600 from Charlotte shortly. Cale Yarborough is on. He told me just aspirin, but look what he's done. He's made up his lap. He is now in 3rd position. We are under green in the 270th lap. There are 130 laps to go. Now, as the situation stands, you see Yarborough going to turn number 1, and he's about 20 car lengths in front of this car, number 33, and number 28 in second place, Bobby Allison. And he is working feverishly and praying hard, you can be sure, that a caution could come out here and he could circulate around the track and go back and go for them. A lot of controversy is going to rage about this race and what we saw happen on the start-finish line, David. Yeah, well, we're going to get this true story of apparently how they managed to get Cale Yarborough 1 lap down. It's all rather confusing. The scoring system here is not terribly easy to follow, and although he crossed the line in front of these 2 cars, Harry Gant and 28 Bobby Allison, and we thought he'd unlapped himself, apparently he has not. Meanwhile, further back, our second camera is in number 3, Richard Childress's automobile. As you know, just as we came on the air live today, we lost our camera because Buddy Baker's car, which had made that great run from 26th starting position all the way up into the field. Now we're with Richard Childress. Richard is currently shown in the 16th position overall in the field, but it still gives you an idea of what anyone goes through that is qualified. And remember, all 42 cars for this race qualified 1 4/10 of a second apart. Well, there we see Richard Childress going past the front stand here right in front of us, and this vast crowd here getting up to maximum speed across the driveway. You can hear him lifting off there. Obviously stays in high gear, into the banking, stays low on the banking. About halfway around, he starts to stand on it. He comes out of turn 2, down that long back straight. He's trying to get a draft of that car right up there in the front, and he will be feeling the draft of that car, and it'll be helping him along. Lifts off again for 3, and here we come back to the lead. Richard Childress of Winston-Salem. There are your 1st and 2nd place cars. Harry Gant in front, Bobby Allison in 2nd. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Ken, there's been great concern this afternoon about Donnie Allison's condition after the tremendous crash that he had. We're standing by with his and Bobby's father, Ed Allison, and you have a report from the hospital. You talked with your family members.
That's right. They called and said that they had Donnie breathing quite well, and the condition was a lot better than it was an hour ago.
Well, while you're back at the track, Bobby just took the lead, so you have to sort of split your allegiance when you're out here with both those fellows on the track.
That's right. I have to worry
Barbosa?
Well, he's working in Bobby Allison's pits here today, but keeps him in close contact with the hospital, and certainly he's relieved to get that report from his family members back at Charlotte Memorial Hospital.
Well, here's one of the all-time greats, the leader of the Alabama gang, Bobby Allison, who won this race in 1970, has never won the national championship until this year with his Harry Ranier, Waddell Wilson car, that he can put it together. Let's look for just a moment at the point standing. Bobby Allison is in first. Their next race is June 30th. They'll be in College Station, Texas for 500 miles. Then they move on to Riverside, California, to Les Richter's great track, where they'll run a road course. And from there, they go to Michigan, to the Roger Penske facility just outside of Detroit, and then the 4th of July back to Daytona Beach. Allison, if he has a good streak through June, could be well on his way to his first national crown. And he certainly looks great here today in this Waddell Wilson prepared car.
Well, if he finishes anywhere in the top 3 today, he has got a good start to the season. It's going to be very difficult for him to take away those 200 points.
There's Bobby Allison trying to put Cale Yarborough a lap down once again. He's right behind him. The 28 car of Allison comes to the inside of number 27, Cale Yarborough, and the MC Anderson machine as they approach turn 3.
Rides underneath the Cale Yarborough there, pretty well staying low. They're all staying low at this stage in the race. Richard Petty there, hounding Harry Gant,
the second place car. Bobby Allison has Cale a lap down. And there's Judy Allison and Waddell Wilson, the man who put the car together, checking the scoring on car number 28. Judy Allison, who saw her husband in victory at Talladega, Alabama, back in the first week in May in an incredible race. 4 cars a half second apart as they came to the finish line, but the first car across the line was that car, number 28. Not exactly that car. That's the old test car they began the season with. And the car that was at Talladega is not the number 28 you see here today.
and of course under a different color scheme now with a brand new sponsor. So maybe this will be the start of a really good year for Bobby Allison, who has dearly loved to win the national champion, a thing that's eluded him for nearly 20 years.
It's one of those goals he's had wanted and tried so hard for. And they say that there is a new Bobby Allison. In the old days, he was one of those chargers that would run a car right through the ground, and that now he's a little smoother, a little older. And that combination with Waddell Wilson and Harry Ranier may make him the champion this year. Certainly deserving of it. He is one of the best. And there's a man who races 150 times sometimes in the season. Not racing quite as much as he used to, but you'll still find him on a Saturday night in Birmingham, Alabama, or some track in Arkansas or Minnesota. Allison is first, and the bandit, Harry Gant, number 33, rides second. Cale Yarborough third, Richard Petty fourth, and Ricky Rudd, the new driver that replaced Darrell Waltrip at number 88, sustains fifth position. There's Richard Petty, still trying to make up the lap. Now, Richard has had it really hard since we saw him at Daytona, as we reported to you yesterday on CBS Sports Saturday and showed you that incredible footage of his awful crash in Martinsville, Virginia, just a few weeks ago. Then at Talladega, that race in May at 190 miles per hour, driven into the wall, no place to go. It's been a tough season for Petty, although he has won 2 more races in his quest for the magic number of 200. 194 Grand National wins have been recorded by that gentleman. And we mean that gentleman in car number 43.
Yeah, he's had one of those terrible on-off years. He's either finished in the top 4, and that includes a couple of wins, or he hasn't finished at all. His total number of laps that he's lost this year is far too many for his liking, and he's normally such a consistent driver, he's finding it a bit difficult to come to grips with not finishing well up in these races.
Let's update you. We're at 282 laps now complete. There remain just 118. The pressure is really on. In the cockpit of those automobiles, the temperature between 120, 130 degrees. There's no respite. There's no between quarters. There's no halftime. You're on stage, center stage all the time, except for a caution or when you come in for 12 to 15 seconds. And 1 second in here can be about 150 feet on this Charlotte Motor Speedway. So seconds are so critical in this most competitive of all form of motorsport. And here you see Cale Yarborough still there shadowing. These two have been adversaries for 2 decades now, and here they are working through the turn. And there's Earnhardt. Remember, Earnhardt is now some 20 laps back. But give him A for effort. He is out here still struggling, still staying in it, trying to score points for the Ron Austin Racing team.
And Harry Gant has slipped back to fifth on the road. I don't know whether this is strategy or whether he in fact is losing some power or losing some handling in that car. But Petty and, of course, Dale Earnhardt have both got around him, and Bobby Allison and Cale Yarber are driving away from him.
Let's update you on some of the positions a bit further back. We mentioned that in 8th position here in our live CBS Sports Sunday coverage of the 22nd run into the Charlotte 600, Ricky Rudd was ensconced in the 5th position. In the 6th position, 2 laps down in Morgan Shepherd. In the 7th position is the man who just won at Dover, Delaware. His first win of his career. Jody Ridley, the Georgia driver who drove for Junior Donlevy, and that number 90 car won his first race in 20 years. They've been out here trying and trying. They finally put it together at Dover, Delaware on the Incredible Mile. They currently are being shown in 7th. Then in 8th is number 42, Kyle Petty, having a great day along with his dad out here this afternoon. Here comes Cale down on the inside, coming by this packed grandstand as he once again tries to take that lap back from Bobby Allison. On the inside to the double dog leg, and Cale Yarborough is back in the lead lap, running in 3rd. But he's a full lap behind those leaders. One blown tire, one blown engine, one car slightly sashaying or metal in the track. He could make his lap up right now. Here comes Richard Petty trying to make up his lap. Not to be as they enter turn 3.
Well, I tell you what, I still would be rest easy in my boots if I was there and Richard Petty was running this strongly. With only just over 100 laps to go in this 400-lap race here at Charlotte in the heat. Richard Petty's an Iron Man, and he's hanging right in there. But of course, the lap is almost impossible to get back unless you just happen to be in the right place at the right time when they have a caution flag. And there he is, hounding Bobby Allison. He's leading this race. Harry Gant, as I say, there he is right behind Richard Petty, but he has slipped away from the leader for the moment, the leader spot.
Bobby Allison out of turn number 4 when he comes by this time. 288 laps for the fifth completion. That will be 112. Pressure is on, but this driver does 2 things well. He is great under pressure. You cannot intimidate him. And you'll note as they come around this track that towards the end, they do lean on each other. They do swap paint. And the other thing about Allison, outside of the fact he cannot be intimidated, is that he drives well in heat. Some drivers don't much care for the heat that these cars generate. The floorboards on those cars become so hot they have to put asbestos on the bottom of their shoes or actually burn the bottom of their feet. So they have sort of a moon man look to the bottom of their racing shoes out here. But Allison enjoys the heat. He lives in Alabama. He likes it there because it's warm, and heat has never bothered him in a race.
But I think it's the sort of heat that the average public really find almost impossible to really recreate in their mind, because inside of those cars it is probably 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and the floorboards are probably running at close to 200, just under that asphalt carpet, and that is very, very hot on a day like today.
Now there's Harry Gant, and the report is there may be some handling problems beginning to develop on that car. He may pit. Simon Carter might bring him in, take a big gamble here. Right now he's just holding him on for another pit stop. And if he pits, Brock Yates will be right there with the bandit.
So at this stage of the game, Cale Yarber there absolutely praying for some sort of caution to be brought out, as he is now leading Bobby Allison on the road, although he is 1 lap down in 3rd position. Bobby Allison, however, is about to rectify that, tries to go underneath Cale Yarber, doesn't pull it off. Richard Petty hovering there in the background, but Bobby is really hanging low, forcing Cale Yarber up there, up close to the wall as they come off 4.
$411,000 to be divvied up this afternoon as they come out almost 3 wide, working lap traffic, and Cale, as well as Richard, gets the spot back from Bobby Allison to Brock Yates.
Things got a little tense down here a couple of laps ago in the Harry Gant pit, Ken. They grabbed the tires, grabbed the old air jack, and grabbed the gas cans, and it looked as if they were going to make a stop, which would not have been scheduled. I talked to Travis Carter and Tex Powell, his crew chief. They said that Harry had reported he thought maybe a tire was going down, but then they watched it for a bit, decided he was all right. Then they got their fingers crossed, and he's carrying on.
Yeah, he's carrying on. He's making up some of that ground again. He may have just felt that something was wrong with the car, which very often happens in a race car, felt just a little bit nervous and lost the pace just a lap or 2 there.
We'll be back with more of our CBS Sunday live coverage of the 600 in a moment. On pit road at the Charlotte 600, Richard Petty's car is being rolled back behind the wall. Just moments ago, going down the back straightaway, it appeared the engine expired on car number 43. And the man you saw in victory lane, winning an unprecedented 7th Daytona 500, will not be around for the finish and for his third win in the Charlotte 600. The 1975-77 winner is out. And here are the two cars still enjoying, still battling for the lead. Number 28, Bobby Allison, and a non-winner, number 33, Harry Gant. The Bandit still lurks in second place, trying to shoot down Allison. The Burt Reynolds, Hal Needham car stays in second. It's been an incredible performance by the Travis Carter machine. The team car crashed earlier. Stan Barrett, the man who broke the sound barrier in an automobile out at the very same place the space shuttle landed. 739 miles an hour he traveled. He traveled into the wall in turn 4 here today to bring out the fifth caution of the afternoon. We have had 7 cautions in total thus far. A total of 17 cars out of the race. There you see the difference between Bobby Allison. Well, it's 18 now with Richard Petty out. And of course, that's been the story of Richard Petty's year this year. He's either won them, he's come in the top 3 or 4, or he's been right out. And his point situation reflects that, and he's feeling pretty bad about it. Although I must admit, this morning when I was speaking to him, he did pass the remark that winning the Daytona 500 back in February did at least help a little bit. Like to the tune of about $106,000, if I remember rightly. But anyway, there's number 28, now leading his race, Bobby Allison, with his new sponsor up there. But he is in turn being led on the road by that car in the bottom of your picture, number 27, Cale Yarborough, driving with a scalded shoulder, scalded chest, a scalded arm, and a scalded mind at the moment, as he feels he should be on the same lap as these guys. He's not. He's 1 lap down, and he wants to stay in front of these guys. That is number 28, Allison, and number 33, Harry Gant. He wants to stay in front of them in the worst possible way in case there's a caution, which case he gets his lap back. And he's obviously running fast enough to run with them and try and win this race. Battle for 6th place, Jody Ridley, number 90, number 42, Kyle Petty back straight away. That's Jody Ridley, who won Dover, Delaware. First win for the driver from Chatsworth, Georgia, and Kyle Petty, continuing a family tradition that started with the great Lee Petty, who won the Daytona 500 back in 1959. Richard has carried the tradition on, and as you saw at Daytona in Victory Lane, looks like the 4th generation is already in racing. He was there about 4 months old, ready to take the honors with his grandfather Richard and his great-grandfather Lee. Well, now we're back with the leaders. That is American racing throughout. You get very many fathers and brother teams, much more so than you seem to get in Europe. Of course, young Jeff Brown's doing well over here in America these days, son of the famous Jack Brown, who was 12 champion 3 times. And our congratulations for his 3rd win at Indianapolis to Al Unser, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Must be some 4 wins for Al Unser, right? Bobby Unser before. Anyway, New Mexico's happy. The Unsers have done it again. And of course, Bobby Unser sat on the pole there, and he's 47 years old, and he turned a lap of over 200 miles an hour. So I guess that age doesn't necessarily slow you down in racing, and it's certainly not slowing down any of these 3 front runners. Cale Yarborough into his 40s, Bobby Allison well into his 40s, but you tell that to a 20-year-old trying to keep up behind him. To Brockye.
Ken, I'm with Richard Petty in the garage area. Richard, he tried to restart the car when he got into the pits. What was the problem?
Well, I had the bearings out of it and started tightening it, and I said, see if you could smell the thing. When I cranked it up, then they could smell it and see that it was puffing out through the valve cover, so we put it back on.
Did you have any hint of the car being starting to get sick before it broke?
The engine?
Yeah.
No, I just went down in the corner, and when I got back on it, it then bound and started binding up. It didn't slow them out. What they done, they just started tightening up, and if we stayed out there another couple of laps, it exploded all through.
We're sorry. Richard Petty in the garage, finished for the day.
I've never known a man like Richard Petty smile in the face of defeat. We've seen that before. He's absolutely incredible.
Been here since 1960. There's the attrition thus far in the race. That first incident taking 3 cars. Then the Donnie Allison incident taking 2 cars in the first incident. And since that time, it has really built up. We started with 42. We now have 19 cars with Richard Petty out of the 600. But up in front, it's a great battle between number 28 here, Bobby Allison, and just a few car lengths back, number 33. Lead changes standing at 21. 7 different drivers have been up on the point today, and the average speed is well off the pace at 122.30. And we are now down to the last 100 laps of competition. The record at this juncture of the race was 144.488 miles per hour for the man Brock Yates was just talking to, Richard Petty, back in 1975. I survived the 600. That is more than 19 drivers can say as we take a look at the concessions behind the grandstand area of this, the most modern and finest facility on the entire 31 race tour for the Grand National Division of NASCAR. To Ned Jarrett.
Tim, they got pit stops coming up in about 15 laps. We're in Cale Yarborough's pits, and you see the crew doesn't go to sleep when Cale's out on the track zipping around at 150 or 60 miles an hour. What this fellow's doing is putting glue on the lug nut, and they glue them onto the wheels. That's one reason they can make such fantastic pit stops. They glue those lug nuts on so that they don't have to even start them. They have a beveled bolt on the wheel, and they just clip it up on there and hit it 5 times with the air wrench, and they go right on. So it saves a lot of time, and these fellows do all of that engineering here in the pit to make that fast pit stop, of which they hope will be in about 15 seconds.
How soon will they be coming in for those pit stops, Ned? Ned Jarrett?
Yes.
How soon will they be coming in for those final pit stops?
Okay, it'll be about 15 laps.
All right, we're at 310.
I said that at the top of the...
310 laps. And within 15, we will be getting down to a situation where they will be pitting apparently under green to decide this Charlotte 600. And the 600 continues to teeter back and forth between staying in the lead lap and falling out of it. Just this past moment, he's fallen back out of it. As you see, number 28. That's Bobby Allison on the outside, putting Cale a lap down once again. Moments ago, Cale Yarborough had an advantage of about 5 car lengths. And then the car seemed to go away. It began to ride a bit higher in the corners, and Allison was right there. Back in heavy lap traffic as they move into turn number 1. Cale is again in the lead lap. Now used that traffic well there and slipped underneath Bobby Allison to take the lead on the road. But it's still, as you say, 1 lap down. Bobby Allison, number 28, leads this race, and right behind him is Harry Gant, number 33, running a very strong and close second at the moment. David, you want to see a strange sight at a racetrack? Take a look at this. That's the elevator operator to the top floor here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Not exactly like the old days when they ran down in Georgia and Charlotte on a half mile. My, how times have changed. Well, that's Mr. Humphrey Wheeler for you, the general manager of the track here, and a promoter extraordinaire. And he feels that racing needs a shot in the arm, and boy, he sure is giving it here. Look at the people, 135,000 actually turning people away at the gate today, knocking them down to try and get in and watch this fantastic race. Fantastic is the word for it, as Allison continues to hold the lead, but in no way dominate this race. As right there, shadowing that number 28, is the green and white, number 33. The Burt Reynolds Hal Needham car has never run this well except one other time, that in Dover, Delaware, and with about a quarter of the race to go, the car went away and left Harry Gant a bystander once again. But today, he's right there and ready as the laps continue to trickle away. 318 have now been completed. And at that mark, we have just 123 miles remaining. Remember, Cale is in 3rd. Ricky Rudd is in 4th, 1 lap down. In the 5th position remains Jody Ridley. In the 6th spot is Morgan Shepherd. And Kyle Petty may be in for his finest finish to date. Kyle Petty maintains the 7th position at this time. The 8th position is still held by car number 6. And what a story there, because earlier you saw him spinning and sliding on a turn number 4. He's just being lapped by the leaders. That is Joe Ruttman of Upland, California, whose elder brother won the Indianapolis 500 back in the early 50s. And Joe Ruttman's dad, Ralph, is here watching his son, hoping they're going to put together their best finish in NASCAR Grand National competition. There's Kyle Petty. That's number 42. And remember, he is in 7th spot. Number 1:42, and being shown as 3 laps down as he laps Terry LaBunty, number 44, the winner of last year's Darlington race. And right now, I think we're going to see number 88, Ricky Rudd, being put a lap down. 88, Rudd will go 2 laps down. He is running 4th in the field as Allison shoots underneath him. And, of course, Ricky Rudd is lying second in the national standings at the moment, less than 200 points behind Bobby Allison. So he wants to hang in there for a very good finish. But it looks as if Bobby Allison could finish in the top 3 in this race if they stay as they are at the moment, which, of course, another 100-odd miles. They may well not. There we see Cale Yarborough just disappearing out of the picture. 1 lap down on the leader, and that yellow and blue car number 2 is Dale Earnhardt. Also, many laps down on the leaders, but really putting on a fine show now later on in the race. We might mention, too, that Elliott Forbes Robinson is having an excellent race. As you watch our live coverage here on CBS today, Elliott has worked his way into 9th position. Well-known road racer is having a good one after he had bad luck out here in practice the other day. And Yarborough peeled off into the pit then. Now, Dale Yarborough finish. All right, we're into the pit stop. Number 90, Jody Ridley, is also in. And Cale Yarborough, the first among the leaders in this critical time to make that pit stop. Cadet Jarrett.
And they're changing the right side tires, of course, filling it up with gasoline. Saw Jody Ridley's car come out from behind Yarborough. Now the David F. crew has Yarborough's car serviced. They're getting away. This is a scheduled pit stop, but I don't believe he can make it the rest of the way with 78 laps remaining.
What's your speculation? I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be very, very nip and tuck. It's a long way to go, and he's going to be very unlucky if he's not put down 2 laps here. I don't think he will be. The leaders won't quite catch him again, but we can expect more pretty hair-raising action in the pit any second now as the 2 leaders, Bobby Allison, number 28, 33, Harry Gant, make their pit stops, which I'm sure they'll be hoping will be their final ones of the day. There will be 77 laps to go, or correction, 76 laps to go, 114 miles this time by. How close is that for Cale Yarborough and Ned Jarrett? Ned, can you hear us down there on pit road?
Yes, I can, Ken. Well, that's well over 100 miles that he has to go yet, and I just don't think that he can stretch it quite that far. However, the race earlier this year at Rockingham, Cale was leading the race near the end, and Darrell Waltrip did go 111 miles and beat Cale when Cale had to come in for gasoline. So it just depends on who's getting the better gas mileage on a given day, but the way they're running out here today, I just can't see them going 110 to 115 miles on a tank of fuel. The tires are no problem.
What would be the range, Ned Jarrett? Let's check on how Bobby Allison feels about the last 100 miles of this event. How about it, Bobby? How do you take that last 100?
Depends on how far out front I am. If I'm not way out front, then I'll run just as hard as I ever did. If I was way out front, then I would say definitely ease up some. Although I'm not sure about that. I won this race back in '71, and I can remember right with just a few laps to go, there was a car that I really thought I ought to put a lap on, and I kept right on going.
Indeed, here is Bobby Allison coming into the pits now for his last pit stop. Cadet Jarrett.
Ken, he really came in a hurry. Of course, being the professional he did, he knew exactly how fast he could come into the pits. Waddell Wilson and the rest of the crew ready to go to work. They, like Cale Yarborough, changing the right side tires, filling it up with gasoline, cleaning the windshield, giving Bobby something to drink. They do all of this in about 17, 18 seconds. A rather long pit stop here for Bobby Allison. He might be able to make it. There's only 74 laps remaining, but again, that'll stretch his gas mileage.
Bobby Allison back on the track. When Bobby Allison won this race in 1971, his brother Donnie finished in second place. Donnie has been hospitalized today. Things are looking better for Donnie here in the Charlotte Memorial Hospital at this time. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Charlotte 600 shortly. Up there in Ohio today. Bobby Allison has been trying to repulse Cale Yarborough from getting a lap back, and Harry Gant has been lining his rear bumper. And moments ago, this was the critical pit stop of Harry Gant in number 33. The Burt Reynolds Hal Needham car came in and watched the clock. He locked up the wheels, came to a halt. Remember that Allison had an incredibly quick stop when he came down pit road just before we left you to go out to Muirfield Village. And right here, as the seconds continue to click away on this stop for the Taylorsville, North Carolina driver. Trouble on the right rear wheel, taking some additional time. That was a slow pit stop. 2 tires and fuel in 21 and 6/10 of a second, and this is what has happened on the track. It has given Bobby Allison a very fat advantage. We'll give you the exact interval in a moment. Let's go to Ned Jerry.
We're standing by with Waddell Wilson, the crew chief on Bobby Allison's car. He had about 74 laps to go when you came in, Waddell. Can he go the rest of the way?
No, we can go up to about 391 laps, and then we'll have to stop again.
And that would be for gas only?
Right.
What is your speculation as far as Gant is concerned? He came in 4 or 5 laps after you did.
Well, if I was Travis in his pits, I'd gamble and try to make it without stopping.
Well, that's the strategy here now in the Waddell Wilson, Bobby Allison pit. They, of course, would like to see a caution in the next 8 or 10 laps so that they could come in and make that final stop.
Very shortly, we'll be taking you to golf next, the Memorial from Ohio, Deerfield Village. Right now, you're watching live the 22nd running of the $411,000 Charlotte 600. Bobby Allison, the 1971 winner of this event, has an 11-second advantage over the second-place runner, Harry Gant, as the laps begin to trickle away. Kyle Petty stays very much in the hunt. Kyle is currently being shown in the 7th position. He may be in for his best finish. He's on pit road right now, David.
Yeah, he's 3 laps down, so there's no way he's going to win this race. But on the other hand, he'll be looking for a good finish now. His poor old dad's out of the race. It was running really strong there and failed to win this race again. He's had a real hard luck season for Petty. He's won 2 races, but he's dropped out of a lot as well. There's number 28, 10 seconds in front of the Bandit, driven by Harry Gant, number 33, who made such a very long pit stop.
And now you're seeing the interval between Bobby Allison and Harry Gant, with Taylor Yarborough a lap down there, lapping the wrecked Jimmy Means car, who stays out there and still tries to score. Coming up next this afternoon, golf from Deerfield Village. You'll see the Memorial live on CBS as Sports Sunday continues. We're in the waning moments of the Charlotte 600, and right now it's Bobby Allison to win. Some $65,000 at stake for him if he can put it together for the Harry Ranier Waddell Wilson team. And it looked to me like that car wasn't running up the snuff as it went through there.
It certainly seemed to slow down quite a bit.
Getting to the back straightaway, it's back to full song, lapping Richard Childress as he goes down to turn number 3, but for just a moment, it seemed to skip a beat. 88, Ricky Rudd is now on pit road. He is the 4th place contender, down a lap. There is Harry Gant, 2nd place, and we'll get the interval again between those 2 cars. Let's go to Brock Yates.
I'm sure somewhere up in those suites, our old pal Hal Needleman owns Harry Gant's car, smoked about 14 packs of cigarettes, but I've got some good news for him and all of Harry's fans. Travis Carter and Tex Powell, their crew chief, tell me that Harry is going to go the distance. In other words, as Ned Jarrett reported, it looks as if Bobby Allison is going to have to make one more stop, but the Harry Gant crew says, we're going all the way. That could make the big difference here.
Number 90, Jody Ridley, coming apart, slowing down. The man who won his first race, Catholic Georgia driver, on the back straightaway. Number 90, you're watching live his engine expire and his hopes for this World 600. He had been running so well today, shown in 6th position. But these last 100 miles, that extra 100 really begins to burn up driver and engine. And for Jody Ridley, the day comes short. He will be the 20th retiree from the 42 starters.
Well, that's very sad, because the man he drives for, Junie Dunleavy out of Richmond, Virginia, is such a nice gentleman and such a great team to work with. I have driven for them once before, and that's a great thing for all of them. I'm sure they'll be absolutely heartbroken. Ridley puts the car behind his wall.
Repeating in Indianapolis today, Bobby Unser won for the 3rd time by 5 seconds over Mario Andretti, who came all the way from the rear. Vern Chupan was next. Great classic in the Midwest. Bobby Unser is victorious over Andretti there. Here, the issue still in question, as Bobby Allison will probably have to come in for just a thimbleful of gasoline to get him to the victory. And the question becomes, will number 33, Gant, be able to make up that time and come around with a win? There's number 2, Earnhardt, making up a lap, but with him it's academic. He's about 20 laps down.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt's been running so strongly all day, but he obviously had some electrical failure in the middle of the race. It looked to me like the engine just stopped. one of those mysterious things. We saw Dale Inman, his new crew chief, Richard Petty's cousin, and of course his ex-crew chief for something like 20 years. We saw Dale Inman standing there with a bunch of blood leads and a distributor cap in his hand, but obviously Dale's trying very hard now to be down to the race.
We're checking the interval between the first and second place drivers. Allison stays in front and waiting for Gant to come into the frame. Remember, it was at 11 seconds. And it's 10. And he's picked up one.
Yeah, it's taken him a long time to do that, so if he can get by with no more stops, Bobby Allison does have to make a stop. 10 seconds will be more than enough, because although we see the clock on the car when they're in the pit lane there, and we time these stops at like 14, 15, 18, 20 seconds, that really is only a very small part of the story. The real story is lifting off as you go through turn 3, slowing up, going down pit lane, stopping for 20 seconds, and then getting up to speed again. You, in fact, lose a lot of time on a pit stop.
Just 55 laps, 82.5 miles to go. Allison will have to make one critical pit stop, just in and out. But will it give the advantage to Harry Gant to win his first race?
Well, if Harry Gant does not have to stop, and Allison does have to, then 10 seconds isn't enough. But I can't see how Harry Gant can go the whole race either without stopping.
Let's ask our expert down on pit road, the two-time Grand National champion, winner of 50 of these racing battles. Ned Jarrett, how do you feel about it? Is this a tight job? Are they trying to do a number down here, or do you feel that Gant can go the rest of the way?
Ken, I believe that it'll be very close as far as Gant is concerned. He did come in about 4 laps after Allison did, and they took a little extra time in the pit, put every drop of gasoline in it they could possibly get, so that could just give them enough to make it the rest of the way. And I understand that he might be running a little bit higher gear here today than Allison is running. That also would give him a little bit better gas mileage, and certainly he's in the position he's got to gamble. He's just got to let it hang out and hope that it will go all the way.
Would you want to take that gamble, Ned, if you were out there?
If I was in his position, Ken, I don't think I would have any other choice but to take that gamble, yes.
Well, there you see the backstretch where Ned Jarrett was in one of the worst crashes in Charlotte history, right out of turn number 2, where they lost Fireball Roberts, 1964, head in that crash. Here's Gant coming through there looking very strong. That car's looking as good as it has looked all year. Coming next, the Memorial Golf Tournament from Deerfield Village. And there is spectacular competition there, as Vin Scully told you moments ago. So stay with CBS Sports Sunday for all the major events and sports on a weekend. Saturday and Sunday, right here, it's CBS. Bobby Allison trying once again to win this, the most difficult, the toughest, the longest, the hardest, 1.5 miles bank track. The pounding on machinery and man, incredible.
Well, of course, Bobby Allison here has got a double-edged sword. He's running with Dale Earnhardt, and of course he's using Earnhardt's draft. This is doing two things. A, they're going faster as a pair than Harry Gant is going on his own.
Here's Gant back to the line.
They have in fact pulled about a little bit out on Harry Gant. They're going faster as a pair, and of course with Bobby Allison running behind Dale Earnhardt, he's using just a little bit less gas. So if Harry Gant has a slightly higher gear, a slightly taller gear, pulling 200 or 300 RPM less, he's using less fuel.
At 300,
on the other hand, with Bobby running right behind Earnhardt, he too is using less fuel.
At 340 laps, 510 miles, the average speed is 125.891. The record was established by Richard Petty in 1975 in his first victory in this event at 145.173. Next time by, there will be 50 laps remaining. It is felt that Allison will have to make one stop, but for this crew, that of Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham, the crew chief Travis Carter, they are into it now. They may be able to go these last 50 laps without a stop, and of course, slowing down and getting started. They could come right to the wire at the finish of the Charlotte 600 today. Travis Carter and his crew. Now, Travis Carter was with Junior Johnson for many years. He knows Grand National racing. He knows how to tune the cars, knows how to keep them running, and he knows strategy. Will it pay off? We're going to find out very shortly here on CBS Sports Sunday. We're watching Lenny Pond, number 24, the Virginian back on pit road, and we're checking for you the standings now. Here's how things stand with Bill Allison first, Gant second, Cale Yarborough third, Ricky Rudd in fourth. In the fifth position, 2 laps back is Morgan Shepherd. Up to sixth moves Kyle Petty. With the seventh position, Upland, California's Joe Rutman. In the eighth position is Elliott Forbes Robinson. Joe Milliken runs in ninth. And the 10th position belongs to car number 11, the man who contended this race to the very checkered flag a year ago. Darrell Waltrip relegated in car number 11 to 11th spot. Well, Bobby Allison fans will be pleased to hear that he has in fact pulled out 3.5 seconds over Harry Gant. And of course, one of the reasons is he's got that draft, Dale Earnhardt. He's really using it. And they're carving their way through traffic now on turn 2, going under that back chute. And this is absolutely the answer to a prayer. Bobby Allison could not have hoped for a better set of circumstances at this stage in the race. He's saving gas, and he's going fast. We'll have an update on the condition of Donnie Allison for you when we return to our CBS Sports Sunday live coverage of the 22nd running of the Charlotte 600. 57 laps on the record book. We've got 43 laps remaining. Bobby Allison continuing to hold the lead. A slim one. About 12 seconds over Harry Gant in second place. And a pit stop coming up for Allison before this day is done in the 600 from Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're checking interval now between first and second place. David Hobbs alongside, who starts outside of the front row in the major sports car race of the weekend at Lime Rock, Connecticut tomorrow. There's the interval, David, clicking off. And the interval is up to about 13 and a little bit seconds. Second as it comes through. I have secret sources, Cameron. I come not unprepared. Oh. Yeah, it's 13.4 seconds, the gap. Which is about 3 seconds more than it was when they first went out there in this configuration. Bobby Allison got in a draft with Dale Earnhardt, but then decided that wasn't really good enough and went round Dale Earnhardt. He's now on his own again. But of course, as is Harry Gant. But 13 seconds is not enough if Bobby Allison has to stop. There you see the standings. Bobby Allison in first, Harry Gant in second. Cale Yarborough still in third, trying to make up that lap, and you can be sure there's going to be some controversy about that. Here's an update on the condition of Hueytown, Alabama's Donnie Allison, the brother of this man now leading the race. Donnie Allison now conscious. He is sedated. He has sustained some head injuries, and tests are being run to determine how serious they are. But he is conscious, and we're delighted to hear that. He was involved in a crash between the third and fourth turn that took his car and Richard Brooks out of competition here in the 600 today. A critical moment of the race came as they raced the flag earlier and eliminated the car of Neil Bonnet. He was in first place when he crashed right at the start-finish line. He was dazed, injured in his car for some time. We are pleased to report that Neil Bonnet is all right. The Wood Brothers car sustained considerable damage, but Neil is okay. Meanwhile, Allison continues to throttle around the track. The individual laps, I believe, are about 155 miles an hour. We'll check some individual laps now for you on that car. Harry Gant still in second place. Remember, he has never won a Grand National race. This could be it for him. Last year he raced here in the Race Hill Farms car from New England, number 47, and I believe he finished about 16th in the event. But today, he's in second place and looking very stout as we get down to the decision time in this race. Well, this, of course, is going to be a real nip and tuck thing. We heard Bobby Allison say that his strategy, if he had a good lead, would be to maybe just lay back a bit, but he doesn't know, of course, whether Harry Gant is going to have to stop or not, which is obviously going to make a difference to his strategy. A quick time into the pits and back out for gas could bring them just about even and a drive for the finish line. From the camera of Herman Lang, 360 degrees around the high banks of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. There's Allison in the third and fourth turn. That has been a wrecker of automobiles for the past 2 days. Saw 2 bad crashes here yesterday in the Sportsman event. Now in front of this tremendous crowd, the largest in the history of the 600 at Charlotte. And into turn number 1. There's about 3 bumps as you approach number 1, and no matter how you go across them, you come out sideways into 2. Seeing a crowd like that makes one humble to be associated with motor racing. And of course, I'm even more humble today to be up here in the commentary box with Ken, who miraculously won 2 awards this week. One given at Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, no less. There we see Herman Lang, who's also a hero up the top of that ladder. He can definitely have that job for cheap. Give us away, Herman, 2-8. Back to the leader, number 28. As I was saying, Ken won an award yesterday presented by the American Race Writers and Race Broadcasters Association, and he won their top award yesterday, which was given out at Indianapolis, right under the noses of somebody else. The winners are people like Herman Lang, who have done such a magnificent job of covering motorsports, and Neil McCaffrey and Redden Faden and so many, and ladies too, like Diane Keogh, hung in with us through all of these races on CBS. And we're very appreciative of the Clock Award. Let's go to Brock Yates on pit road.
Ken, I'm with Travis Carter, the crew chief on Harry Gant's car. Travis, did you make the decision to gamble to go the distance after you knew that Bobby Allison was going to have to make a final stop, or was that your original plan?
Well, our original plan, of course, is to run as far as we can on fuel, and it worked out so that we ran a few more laps than he did. I'm of the opinion he's going to try to stretch this till the end, though.
Some people think you're running a little bit taller rear-end ratio to give you a little bit better fuel mileage. Is that correct or not?
Well, I couldn't verify that, but I think probably, knowing Waddell Wilson's situation, we might be.
How is Harry Gant in terms of strategy and running in a draft and using the car to its best advantage under these circumstances?
Well, you know, Harry's right now is just having to run as hard as he can run every lap. There's not much strategy left at this point.
Okay. No strategy, you stand on it, Ken. That's the way it is down here.
Okay. I want to go back with Ned Jarrett and see if indeed Waddell Wilson will try to stretch the lead car, Allison, to the 600-mile mark. Energy conservation, the issue for this man, number 28. He's got to run hard enough to win. He does not want to lose out here, this close to the finish. We're showing 368 laps now complete. Just 32 to go. The incident, which was of major consequence in this race. Let's take another look for you at what happened here at the start-finish line earlier on. There you see them racing back to the flag after there had been a crash in turn 3 and 4. Second car on the outside is Neil Bonnet. Directly in front, yellow car, Bobby Womack. Womack, for some reason, falls out, and when he does, Neil Bonnet thunders into the wall, slamming the car first to the outside. Then, the car bounced across the track, came down the track, and here you see it sliding out of control, hitting the inside barrier with tremendous impact and driving it back onto the track. As we mentioned, Neil was unconscious. He was taken to the field hospital, has since been released. But a strong member of the Alabama gang out of it. And there you see number 2, Earnhardt, as we get back to our live coverage on CBS Sports Sunday, beginning to become a smoker. And that crash, of course, raised some controversy because Neil Bonnet and Cale Yarborough were racing for the flag, and Cale, of course, is under the impression that he gained a lap back in that situation. Waddell Wilson talking on the radio to his driver, Bobby Allison, planning the last strategy, the final shot to decide the 22nd run into the 600. Talking to that man, and radio is so key in these races. Allison in front. Can he stay there? The laps are dwindling. Harry Gant is waiting to win his first race and to win the 600 here today. Toward the last 25 next time by. Completing the 374th, 130,000 plus. They actually turned them away here today in Charlotte, North Carolina to see this great confrontation of the finest stock car drivers in the world. Take a look at that infield. Packed. And look at the folks on the outside. And I must tell you that the traffic coming in here today was handled exceptionally well. The county and local officials did a marvelous job. Memorial weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, and what a tremendous Southern celebration we're seeing. Allison still in front. Let's get a report from that judge.
The third-place car, Cale Yarborough, is coming in about 5 laps. With us is David F. David, what are you going to do when he comes in?
We're going to change right side tires and, dump 1 can of gas and finish it out. We're still a lap down, and, there probably won't be no caution. So.
Why would you change tires?
Well, the set we got on is pretty well worn, so, we want to make it comfortable for him.
David, how is Cale holding up with his burn?
Well, I'm sure it's bothering him a lot now. 600 miles, and he's burnt pretty bad, so.
Has he complained at all on the radio?
No, he hasn't complained all day.
He's a tough customer.
I'll guarantee you.
Okay, they're bringing him in here very shortly for their last pit stop.
third-place cars coming in. You saw the third-place car, Cale Yarborough there. One lap down and running just behind Harry Gant, the second-place car, but there's still a vast margin between them.
Well, Harry Gant is actually turning slightly quicker laps than Bobby Allison. He's running at about 153 miles an hour. Bobby Allison's running at about 152 and a half. Doesn't sound much, but it has in fact closed that gap from 13 and a half seconds down to just on about 11. 10.8, 11 seconds now between those two cars. But of course, if Bobby doesn't have to stop, well, it won't make any difference. Wingtail Pitts will be going back with Ned Jarrett to that pit because that's where it'll happen first. There's Harry Gant in second. Let me review quickly for you the top 10. It's still Elliott Forbes Robinson in the 10th position. Waltrip is running 9th. Milliken is in 8th. Joe Ruckman is being shown in the 7th position at the present time. Kyle Petty is in 6th. Morgan Shepherd in 5th. Ricky Rudd in 4th. The 3rd position belonging to Cale Yarborough, who will pick shortly. Then up front, the second-place car remains. Number 33, Gant, the leader, Bobby Allison. We have a guarded condition report, but in a great improvement. And here comes Cale on pit road. That's the report on Donnie Allison. Let's go to the pits and Ned Jarrett.
This will be Cale Yarborough's last stop as he gets a drink of water, and David Ipp and the crew changed the right side tires as he said they would do. He said the tires they had on there were not sticking as well in the turns as they would like, so he'd like to make it a little more comfortable. They have it serviced, and he's away. A very good pit stop.
Well, there's Cale Yarborough. Must be an absolute Iron Man. And of course, viewers on CBS will be able to see him in June at the Le Mans 24-hour race. He's decided to have a bit of a change. He's going to drive over there in the 24-hour race. But I should be driving as well. Of course, Ken and the others will all be over there to watch this play for 24 hours. Cheering you on. Look again at the attrition rate in this race. Totals now stand at 21. The latest to retire, Jody Ridley, out of the event. Jody Ridley has just retired, and we have a change. There's two cars that come back on the track, and so it's a total of 19. Both Jimmy Means and Ronnie Thomas, who have retired, worked on their cars and have brought them out. So it is 19 that are still out, and there are 20 laps remaining. 20 laps to go, just 30 miles to decide it. And it will be decided, perhaps, not at full speed, but on pit road here today, between a great champion, Allison, of many, many years, and Harry Gant, who has yet to win his first Grand National race. Now, here is Allison, out of turn number 4. That's where he'll make his approach and pit if necessary. Ned Jarrett, how about it? Do you feel he is going to try to run the distance now as we get into these last 20 laps?
Well, I'm going to ask Waddell Wilson that question. Has it changed, Waddell, or are you still going to try to run to about 10 laps to go?
Well, Ted, the last 5, I calculated running 65 laps and using most of the fuel. But the thing about it only took 19 gallons. So at this point, it figures out that we can make it. It's going to take the full 22-gallon, though.
But you are going to try it now.
Well, I did the clean gamble on running first, and if we evened up third, that's fine.
Ken, just as I was walking over to Waddell Wilson here, he was working with the calculator, and they do have that kind of equipment in the pits now. He was checking that mileage out just as we walked up, and that's what he came up with, that they can go the distance now, and so they're going to give it a gamble.
Ned, how is Judy Allison holding out right there with you?
Well, Judy seems to be doing pretty well. Let's just walk over here and see. Judy, how are you holding out in all of this suspense?
Well, it's kind of hectic right now. I got to make sure I keep track of him and not lose him.
Well, you're doing a pretty good job at that.
Well, I hope so.
Well, she's very busy here. These wives really get involved with their husband's racing.
61st win could be recorded for Allison here this afternoon in the $400,000 plus payoff as we check again the interval between first and second. And it's a gambler's delight, David Hahn. A real roll of the dice at the end of the 22nd 600 today.
Well, Harry Gant's leveled out at about 10 and a quarter seconds behind Bobby Allison. And if Bobby doesn't have to stop, well, that doesn't bode too well. But NASCAR racing being what it is, with about 16 laps left to go, anything could happen. There are the NASCAR standings. Bobby Allison, who tried with everything to win this year. This could be number 1 of the season. He's out in front in the overall standings. And he would certainly like to put this one. Well, if Bobby Allison wins this race, and Ricky Rudd finishes where he is at the moment, which is in 5th position, that will really consolidate Bobby Allison's leading position.
There's some of the Bandit crew standing by, wondering if Harry Gant is going to have his first win. The Taylorsville, North Carolina veteran. Not too many years ago, you could see him on a Saturday night in Vermont and on a Sunday late back in North Carolina, racing the half miles and third miles. But right now, Gant is just concentrating on bringing this car smoothly down, blending into these corners. As we take a look again at the race summary, 7 different drivers have taken a shot at first place. The lead has been passed back and forth 23 times, and the average speed is a very slow 128.33. But naturally, with the cautions we've had for the serious wrecks we've had here today, Donnie Allison hospitalized, Neil Bonnet in a terrible crash, you can understand why the speeds are down. Coming up to put another lap on Darrell Wilson, who has not had a good day. He didn't have a very good qualifying session either, although he did qualify the second fastest lap. He did it on the wrong day and started off halfway down the field, and that's about where he stayed. He's obviously did not have a very good day, one way or another. Again, if you're just joining us, Donnie Allison's condition, head injury, guarded, but much improved is the latest word we have on the Hueytown, Alabama driver. It hasn't been good for Alabama thus far today. Both Neil Bonnet and Donnie Allison from that same area, Hueytown, but there is one man who could change that for the Alabama fans today, and there he is, right in front of car number 11, Waltrip, who is well down in 9th position. Again, there the Indianapolis standing as Brent Musburger reported to you first here on CBS Sports Sunday. Bobby Unser has won the Indianapolis 500 for the 3rd time. Mario Andretti in 2nd, and your old cohort from Australia, David, Vern Chupan placing 3rd.
Al Burns is amazing, and of course 4th is Kevin Cozen, and 5th is Jeff Brabham. Jeff Brabham is going to do a full year of Can-Am over here in America. An avid watcher of CBS Sports will know that we saw Kevin Cozen do very well in one of those mini Indy races about this. Action and excitement there. We'll be going there the moment this race has been concluded. Allison is in front into the last 10 laps. Does he have enough fuel to make the distance and win the 600 for the 2nd time? Or will Harry Gant take it for the 1st time? Well, we have to believe what Cruzy says, and what Al Wilson says, they only put 19 gallons of gas in that car of Bobby Allison. If that's the case, it obviously hasn't used as much fuel as they saw on the last run, and that would give him, on the increased fuel consumption, enough in there to finish this race without a stop. The Bandit crew anxiously looking on. A fantastic run for this car, right to the finish. Again, the standings, if you watch live, the 22nd Charlotte 600. Kyle Petty there sneaks up to 5th place now. Terrific finish for Kyle Petty today. So Kyle upholding the honor of the Petty family, which has been upheld on these racetracks here in the southeast of the United States, is way back in 1956 when Grandpappy Lee started to win these races. They won down here on the half-mile track in Charlotte, North Carolina originally. Consultation flies coming out. It is for car number 2, Earnhardt is being told to retire. Dale Earnhardt is being told to come in for consultation. Hard day for him. He could have won a bonus of $100,000 if he could have won, and he did the National 500 last fall, and then come in here and win the 600. And there is the story. Well, the officials obviously consider that car is smoking too much. If it's using it in the engine, that's one thing, but if it's running out of the engine off the exhaust pipe, they obviously feel that a lot of that oil is getting on the track, and it's making it hazardous for everybody else. We've had enough practice today without that. All the cars looking a little battle fatigued as we get into the final moment. We are now down on the count. 8 laps to go. The anxious crew standing by on pit road, crossing their fingers. There's the lead crew. The Waddell Wilson, Harry Ranier team, watching the cars that comes by in the short span they can see on the start-finish line, and the Harry Gant crew standing by, waiting to see a quick glimpse of number 33 at the start-finish line, and the rest of the time listening on the radio for any reports of undue problems around this mile-and-a-half high-bank track. Well, with 8 laps to go, the gap is down to 8 seconds, so Harry Gant is slowly reeling in Bobby Allison. But is 8 laps enough? If he doesn't have to stop, it won't be. 7. Down to 7. Looks like Gant may have...
stop. They're up on the wall. Now, we have seen some of these crews sometimes fake a stop, trying to draw the other team into bringing their car in. Richard Petty's team did it at Daytona in a 300-mile race and gave Joe Milliken victory there 4 or 5 years ago. There's flies everywhere when you get into this kind of a moment. The intrigue begins to develop as we get down to the finish. Both Brock Yates and Ned Jarrett standing by on pit road. I don't think they'll have enough fuel to get to victory lane if they get to the checkered flag. Again, still second. Remember now, in third place, if they both should run out of fuel, is Cale Yarborough. Then, in the fourth position, Ricky Rudd. Fifth is Petty. Sixth is Morgan Shepherd. Running seventh is Joe Rutman. Eighth is Milliken. In ninth is Darrell Waltrip. And 10th is Elliott Forbes Robinson. Last lap. They'll be recorded for 395 and 5 to go this time by. Well, I must say that looking out of the window here, the Bobby Allison crew are all sitting around on tires, sitting on pit wall, and generally looking very unlike pit stop coming up. And with only 5 laps to go, I would have thought there would be more signs of activity than that if they really were going to stop. There's Harry Ranier. You know, his father started building race cars years ago in the 50s. They ran short tracks. They ran in the Automobile Racing Club of America for many years. There's the signal from the flag with 5 to go. But several years ago, he came back to Grand National Racing with a vengeance. Buddy Baker drove for them for a while. Now they have Bobby Allison, and they may be on the verge of their most successful day in the 1981 campaign. Buddy Baker won for Harry Ranier at Daytona back in 1979, as you'll remember from our CBS coverage. Less than 4 to go. Well, the gap's down to 7 seconds, but you're never going to make up 7 seconds around here in 4 laps. So barring accidents and barring fix-up, but as I say, the Harry Ranier crew does not look about to make. It looks as if the race has been won by Bobby Allison. Bobby Allison won to a checkered flag all. Bobby Allison in his 15th performance here. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
We're still in Bobby Allison's fifth, and they say they're going to stretch it and try to go all the way. When they recalculated their gas mileage, they said, we can do it. We're going to try it.
How would you like to make that decision be wrong, Bob? It's been done many times. To Brock Yates.
Ken, the Hurricane crew has got its gas can in hand, but I sometimes wonder if we played a catch-ball here at the media. You know, remember what happened in the 79 Daytona race when Ned and I talked to the crews of Cale Yarborough and Johnny Allison? I wonder whether or not our involvement here tends to play back and forth to this strategy. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, goes by. Couple to go. Allison in front. About a $65,000 payoff resting on these last 2 laps, and somebody's mathematical ability to figure out how much fuel is in the old tank. Well, this is it. 2 laps to go as Bobby Allison comes up the line. Going to get the white flag for 1 lap to go. Down a street, somebody on the car to get down out of the way of Bobby Allison. He goes across the stripe for the penultimate time. And the third place car, Cale Yarborough, is right there behind him. I wouldn't be surprised if this race doesn't end with a checkered flag. There's more to it than that after what we've seen today. White flag is out. Here is that scrappy, determined Cale Yarborough, still fussing, still fighting to get a lap back. That left arm of his so badly, right arm of his so badly burned. But he's in there all the way, 600 miles of distance. What a determined campaigner. And the checkers are about to fall. The 22nd 600 at Charlotte has been won by the Harry Ranier team, crew chief Waddell Wilson. And here is Harry again for the Burt Reynolds Hal Needham team, crew chief Travis Carter.